Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about, Jenny, I'm going to come to you because I think we've been talking about digital assets, meme coins, rise of crypto. How are traditional financial institutions like, Franklin Templeton and the likes of that, how are you adapting to this sort of rise?
I think you have institutions falling into two categories. So on the one side, and you got to remember, like if you think about what this is just a simple technology. What this technology does is it has a source of truth. It has ability to execute smart contracts. So things that we've written into a document, and somebody's got to go check and go settle and do this and that, can get programmed in, and it has a way to pay. That actually is a massive threat to huge financial institutions who act as those roles. And so what you have is a lot of sort of the traditional, you have some traditional firms who are merely trying to figure out how to leverage the technology to do what they do today. I'll give you an example. DTCC settles transactions, securities. They're working on just using blockchain as the source of truth in settlement. They should kind of be thinking about atomic settlement where the moment the trade happens, the dollars, the smart contract executes and the dollars transact. Because that's actually what's going to happen. And then I think you have institutions, and I think hopefully this is what we're doing at Franklin Templeton, is we're trying to sit there and say, okay, with this technology, imagine where you do have atomic settlement on transactions, where you don't need to validate. Oftentimes a bank is in between to validate the two parties. I know that when I trade with JP Morgan, that they're making sure that whoever's on the other side is going to pay me. They're standing in for that. If it settles automatically, you don't need that validation. So you have parties who are thinking about what does atomic settlement mean to my business model? In our case, we built on the Stellar blockchain our money market fund, where we have the record keeping, and we're the only ones who are actually running a public transactions on blockchain. There's others shadowing it. We're actually settling them on the chain. And so over time, as you can start to have people making payments leveraging this yield coin, and maybe you hold it for 5 hours. Shouldn't you get 5 hours worth of yield? Like that's a challenge. Like that's a big technical challenge, but actually blockchain makes that possible. So we're thinking through, okay, well, what will that mean? And how does that evolve? And when it's peer-to-peer transactions, how does that evolve? In the asset management industry, costs have actually gone up in, I don't know, like the last 10 years, 80%, and revenues have come down 15%. So from an operating margin, that's not a great trend. We have to be thinking about how do we leverage this in our environment. I think ETFs, why should you buy an ETF today and have had the pricing lag by 2 hours, right? An ETF actually only prices twice a day, even though it transacts all day. Why shouldn't it go 24 hours? Why shouldn't the smart contract tell you exactly what those underlying holdings are worth at the time that you do a transaction? And so thinking through, I think there are firms who are actually trying to think through, what does this mean and how do I fit myself into this model?
That's great. And Danelle, Stella does